Hello, everybody, and welcome to Comhraile Comhrá, where we are getting young people from Monaghan to have conversations, get their views and opinions on topics that are important to them and are impacting them. So, my name is Melissa Mackin, and I'm from Youth Work Ireland, Cavan, Monaghan, and I'm going to be hosting today. And we have three young people who are doing their Leaving Cert at the moment. They are all from Corley and Nogue in Monaghan, and it's Daniel, Adam, and Kiva. So you're very welcome, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Melissa.
Now I got all that tongue twister out of the way, we can relax. So, our first video session today is we want to talk about the Leaving Cert because, of course, it's causing a great strain and stress on any young people who are studying for their Leaving Cert this year. And we just wanted to have a chat about it and talk about it because we are expecting that there's going to be some sort of an announcement this week. So we wanted to get your opinions on how you're feeling about it at the moment. So I suppose that's where we'll start, just kind of saying, how are you feeling? How are you feeling at the moment around the Leaving Cert? Does anybody want to take that up?
I guess I'll go first. I know it's quite, like as you said, it's a very stressful time, and it's very hard to keep your head in the game, and it's so hard to not go to school and wonder if I'll even use the things I'm learning. So it's very hard to not worry about what's going to happen in the future, and it's very hard to stay present in the moment, so it is so stressful on us, and it's hard to get up and sit in front of a screen every day, and stay active and attentive. So it's stressful, and it's quite hard.
That's
I agree with you, Daniel. Yeah, definitely. It's hard to stay motivated, and you feel like you're sitting in front of the computer for the sake of things. You don't feel like there's an end goal at the end of things because everything is so uncertain. So yeah.
And as you're saying, this has all been played. It's all been played out before. So it's that feeling of I don't know whether I'm studying for a purpose or for no reason at all because I don't know what's going to happen. Are we going to? Is it going to be cancelled? Are you going to get predicted grades? So the motivation there is really difficult to actually continue on, as well as the stress. What about you, Adam?
Yeah, it's obviously in any normal year, the Leaving Cert is going to be a stressful event, I suppose. But yeah, with the uncertainty of it all, it does add a whole nother level of pressure and a whole level of stress that a lot of people are find it very tough to, I suppose, learn in that sort of mindset where you're stressed and anxious all the time. It's hard to concentrate on your work when you just have no idea what's going to happen, and you're sitting in the same chair for 5+ hours a day.
And tell us about that then. What is school life like at home now? So what's your experience of school? Are you getting support, do you feel? How is your day running? What's it like? Daniel.
Yeah, I know I start at 8 o'clock in the morning because I do an extra class 3 days a week. And then the other 2 days I try to get up and do a bit of study at 8 in the morning because that's just I'm wired to get up at that time at this point. But I know it's very hard. I generally and it's bad practice or whatever, but I generally do my first class from my bed because it's so hard to even the desk that I'm supposed to use is in my room, but even for me it's so hard to just physically get myself up, have breakfast, get to the desk, and generally having breakfast during my first class, which just completely is off-putting, so the whole timing is really, really weird, when I'm eating compared to what I normally would have in school, especially during the day for our break and our lunch. I feel like I'm getting no relaxation time. It's very much go from one class and I'm preparing for the next class before the last class even stopped. And lunchtimes are going by so quickly, and so many people have said the same thing. You're not sitting and you're not chatting with your friends, you're not having a banter or whatever. You're sitting on your phone for about half an hour, and then you're oh god, I actually have to go get something to eat, and then you're coming back and your lunchtime's over, and you feel like you haven't had the time to relax. So it's it's very monotonous. Like you have the same feeling the whole day, and then you're just going back from your desk back to your bed or down to the sitting room or into the kitchen, and it's just, you know, it's the same thing every day, and it's so hard to like be excited for it, and you know, and think that something new is going to happen. So that's something that I'm finding very weird, and like each day is feeling awful long, and yet the weeks are flying by, like, and it's so hard to retain all of the information because it feels the same every day. So like, you know, psychologically it's hard for anyone to retain any information when each day feels the same. But you know, like it's so hard to keep doing the same thing, and to try to keep the information that you're meant to be taking on when you're sitting at home in your bedroom or whatever.
Yeah, and even from listening to Daniel saying that he gets up at 8 o'clock every morning, like I'm just getting up in time for my first class at 9 o'clock, and I'm still doing it from bed most of the time. It's not bringing out the best routines in people, I think, because there's no structure to your day. You don't have to get up and catch a bus or walk to school or anything. You're sitting, as you said, your desk's in the same bedroom as you're in, so you're not moving much in the day, and there's no encouragement to really get outside, or there's no social interaction at all, which is probably the most isolating part of it. And it's the same as what happened the last lockdown, and no matter what schools try and do to make online learning better, it's just a fact that when you're at home doing online learning, you're not going to be able to interact with your friends, and you're not going to be able to get that fresh air, that brisk walk between each class, like, of the day. You're just sitting, and I can feel myself, like my back is killing me
the same
weeks, like. And then just without trying to think about the Leaving Cert, you have the mock exams or the pre-exams coming up, God knows when as well, like whenever we get back to school, the first, second, third week we get back into school, it's the stress of all that again, and that pushes very tight to the orals, and it's just a lot of like logistics that aren't sorted out yet. Even the logistics of the Leaving Cert, the biggest exam of our life so far, is no one knows what's happening. So,
which can be very, very unsettling.
Yeah.
What about you, Caoimhe?
Yeah, again, I lack motivation. I agree with what Daniel and Adam has said, and like I feel like I don't get a break. I feel like I don't have time to take a break, because I normally have most of my classes each day are live, and then at break time I'm sitting eating a snack while I'm doing homework or getting ready for the next class. And even at lunchtime I'm sitting eating my lunch while I'm trying to do work or trying to catch up or trying to email people to try and get stuff. You know, you just feel like it's constant, and you're not getting any break or relaxation away from it. And that's it. It just feels like you just wake up in the morning, school, homework, study, and go back to sleep and do it all over again. Like it just gets really tiring.
Yeah, there's no separation between each day. It just all runs along, and it's monotonous, and it's the same thing day after day. And you're doing, because there's no going home to do homework, it's just school for the entire day. Like,
and I hear you saying that, because even in the way you're describing it, the three of you, it's like if you were at school, you have the dynamic of moving classes, teachers, your friends, all of that kind of stuff. And that when you get home in normal times, then you could have the capacity to sit down and study. But if you're doing that all day, sitting in the one space like that, you may be eating, sleeping, and studying all in the one room. You know, where is the break in all of that? It's just one continuous stream, instead of actually having a different dynamic of being out and about. And then probably, you would be able to do that. But it sounds very, very difficult. And what was I going to ask you then? I suppose before Christmas, when you were in school, so you were in school from September to December, and you were going into sixth year, and you had 3 months of fifth year was wiped out last year. So were you feeling by the time you got up to Christmas that, okay, I'm up to speed now. I think we're okay for doing the Leaving Cert, or did you still feel like you were catching up from what you missed in 5th year?
If you don't mind, I'm gonna go first again. It was I found it very difficult to gauge that, you know. You know, we've never done 6th year before, we've never done the course before, and like the teachers were all well, my teachers anyway, were all trying to be as optimistically realist as they could. They were going like, yeah, we're not like that far away from what I normally am, like we're almost on track. And like the amount of times they said it kind of made me doubt them, but you know, I understood they were trying to be sportive. We were like, we're not that far off track, but like, you know, I really found it difficult to gauge, like, are we off track, are we not? And you know, we'd spent a lot of time doing tests from September up to November. There was a lot of like, I felt anyway, and I know that is normally the way our school runs it, is, you know, to do like October test, November test, kind of get a gauge of where you are, like on work previous. But it felt like there was a lot of emphasis on tests. I know, for example, in history, we almost missed one class a week. We only have 3 classes a week in history, and we missed 1 class a week to do tests. You know, so you're only doing coursework two times a week, which was, you know, it, like for me, that was like, you know, there was so much worry about predicted grades from the start of the year that there's emphasis on tests, that we weren't maybe doing as much coursework as we could, on top of missing out in coursework last year. You know, so it all, like, by the time Christmas came around, I was kind of just hoping and being optimistic about it, but I really didn't have a clear idea about whether we had or we hadn't. So yeah.
Okay. Adam or Caoimhe, how did you feel?
I just felt like we might have been catching up theoretically on paper, saying, oh yeah, we've this chapter done, like, but we were kind of rushing through it, and just for the sake of getting it done. So just because, you know, we say, oh yeah, we have this chapter done, doesn't mean that me or any other student like would understand it or would be confident enough in it. You know, we were kind of just rushing on just to catch up to where, as Daniel said, where the teachers feel like they normally should be at this point. So like, you might have been on paper, theoretically, you might have been caught up or doing okay, but like realistically, after that, you know, the study and revision you'd have to do back over that chapter, it'd be serious, because you didn't do it properly the first time around, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so there's a bit of speeding going on.
Yeah,
to get things done. Okay.
Mm.
Okay, and do you feel then, could you, because you've missed part of 5th year and you haven't got your pre's done, do you think, just say predicted grades came out, you know, that was the way the department are going with predicted grades, do you feel like you could be assessed on predicted grades at this point? We'll ask Adam, because he hasn't had
well, I do agree that predicted grades is probably the most reasonable way to go forward, because of all the circumstance of missing out on so much of our education. I don't feel any Leaving Cert student in the right mind is actually confident in sitting the Leaving Cert at this point, because we've missed so much. It doesn't look like we're going to be on track to near finish a lot of our courses, or know them well enough we could speed through them. But yeah, I don't feel confident that if they were to predict them right now, that we'd have enough information, because we haven't done our pre's and stuff like that. So I think between now and say June or even April, like there's enough time there to do some sort of a continuous assessment to actually get that information that they need to do a calculated assessment of us and stuff like that.
Okay. And you guys, see, you guys are nodding. Do you agree? Yeah.
I wouldn't be completely confident in different class tests, because there are different circumstances, and some grades might be better than others, like, so, you know, you don't know whether you'd feel completely comfortable. But yeah, I think, like Adam was saying, like, there's a time now where we can we can do some sort of continuous assessment maybe on the topics like that might help to go towards it, you know, that students might feel a bit more confident in their results, because so that's some students might feel confident in their previous results and be happy for them to go for predicted grades, where other students, you know, to different circumstances, they might not feel comfortable with them. So
okay. And what about the practicals and the orals then? Where do you stand on those? Have you heard anything about them?
Very little has been going on. I know we were talking to our music teacher today, and she was saying that the conference that they're meant to be having, like as music examiners, like practical examiners, they haven't had it yet, and they normally have had it, and there's no set date for it. And you know, so from a teacher's point of view, you know, they don't know when they're going to be, and so they don't know how much they have to prepare, when they have to prepare. And you know, when with our pre's coming up, teachers are trying to get a lot of written work done to be like, oh well, we have like all the essay titles covered, or we have all of the grammar and everything covered, so you'll be able to write it well. And then if suddenly your orals are 2 weeks after our pre's, or you know, something like that, like if they do try to do the orals and they're going to be like right on top of our pre's, or they're going to be like maybe way later. I know another suggestion that our music teacher was talking about earlier was it was going to be way later in the year, May time, you know, so like coming right on top of our actual leaving cert, which would be quite awkward time period, when that's normally where you'd be revising for your written paper. And so it is really worrying, especially as a music student. That's 50% of my overall exam, you know, that you cannot go without. And I like, personally, we have done quite a few practical exams, but I've been speaking to other students in other schools across the country that, you know, there is no focus on practicals. A lot of them haven't even chosen their definite practical pieces yet. And you know, like it's very up in the air. It's kind of like they spend 2 or 3 weeks at it just before the practicals, like solely at doing practical work. Whereas now, with that complete uncertainty, you know, they're like, well, what am I meant to do? Like, I haven't even contacted my teacher to discuss about practicals. And some students are very aware that teachers might be able to work on that kind of stuff and be able to converse with that stuff as much now, because they're so worried about Zoom classes and online work. And you know, so we don't have that opportunity to prepare for the orals and practicals as we would if we were in real time. And there's just so much worry surrounding orals and practicals that, you know, has never had to happen before. So it's a hard thing to even think about, to be honest.
Yeah, like as a music student myself, like I've seen practicals and orals taking a real backseat from online learning, because there's no way to effectively do it online. And there's talks about maybe we'll have to do them sort of exams online, because I don't think that it should really be an option to cancel these sort of exams, because they are essential. Like students who would be banking on that 50% of their music exam, or would be banking on the 40% of an oral exam, you know, that they need that, and that's where their abilities and skills lie. So I think cancelling that would be foolish, and I think there definitely is a lot of uncertainty, and that's the thing that we need certainty on as soon as possible, because it is the time where if we were in school, we'd be studying our orals or practicals non-stop at the moment, because it's coming up towards that time of year. And as you said, like it'd be a difficult decision, because they could be pushing it down towards our I suppose time of the year where you'd normally do a sitting exam or something like that. So there's no clear answer to it yet, but I think clarity as soon as possible and looking at those solutions is what's really important.
And like what I'm hearing, and it's unfortunately it's the same as last year, is just so much uncertainty, just so much not knowing, so much unknown, which is very difficult for your mental health you know, that yous are having to kind of carry that on top of it. And never have we had such a time where we've had to live day to day, which, you know, we're being told mindfulness, live day to day, but this is a different type of living day to day of uncertainty and not knowing what's going to happen. So how do you manage that? Like, how do you motivate yourself or manage trying to the unknown that you're experiencing at the moment? Or maybe
Um,
you're not.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
personally, I'm not dealing with it extremely well. You know, I'm spending a lot of time trying to converse with like my friends and like have
Yeah.
conversations and try to be like a bit jovial, a bit lighthearted and stuff. But like the majority of the time, it always ends up like those kind of conversations that I start always end up turning to the leaving cert, to stress, to I didn't understand what was going on in maths class today. Did you understand what was going on in maths class today? You know, like, and it's really hard to like, you know, when you don't have those lighthearted things to think about and you don't have those social interactions to think about, it's so hard to constantly be thinking and worrying about your subjects. I know for me, like a massive thing for me, an outlet was theater, and getting to the theater, getting to perform a bit, getting to like joke around with my friends and everything, and don't have it at all. And it's absolutely not the same when I try to do something like in my house, and then, you know, by the time the school day is over, I'm completely unmotivated to actually get up and do a dance or get up and do something because I'm just exhausted. It's so mentally draining to sit in front of the computer screen and try to focus on it the entire time. So, you know, like I am very unmotivated, and I've tried multiple things to try to get myself to be motivated, but it's so hard to stay motivated when I'm feeling so anxious all the time.
Yeah.
You know, so it is definitely like I don't really have a very good schedule or anything to keep myself going from day to day.
Yeah. And like that, every activity is online. So, and you just don't want to go there. You just don't want to do that, you know, because like you're saying, you're fatigued from being online. So you're just not going to want to go there, really.
Mm-hmm.
Um. So, guys, I just wanted to ask then, what would you like? So, if you were sitting at the table with the government today, you know, what would you be suggesting? What do you want to happen? What would you like the government to do? What would be the best option?
I think number one is, I suppose, being transparent and clear to students, like better communication to students and teachers, because when I know nearly every single online class with every student I've been, there's always been at least one question from a student to the teacher being like, what's going to happen? Are we going to have our pre's, orals? What's happening here? Teachers have no idea. Principals have no idea. So clear communication to students, teachers, principals, about even their plans or what might happen, or I suppose, and then interaction, I suppose, from the teachers and the students is important. I know there's a lot of that going on, but I suppose the main thing would be clarity then, for students, because they want to know as soon as possible. Because if you look at last year and how late clarity came for students, it was pushed to the very last minute, and then students finally found out, right, well, I'm not sitting anything now, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for students' mental health, because it's as low as it can get now, I suppose, is to have clarity for them, so that this doesn't be dragged on for the next 3 months, or something like that. So clarity and a bit more transparency then. And then I know the majority of students in the country want a choice between having predicted grades, and then they can also have the choice to sit the exam in the subjects that they want to, as well, because I suppose that's a way to keep the majority of people happy, because then you do minimize the risk of COVID, and you do minimize the mental health stress the students under. So
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Adam. Clarity is the big thing, because that's it. You look at the headlines every day. I know they say not to look at them, but sometimes you just can't help yourself looking. And recently, it's just been one leader has been saying one thing is going to happen, and then next day so someone else will come and say that no, that's not going to happen and this is going to happen, and it's just total confusion. And so then it's just messing with students' heads, because these are the people that are in charge of our country, and like they're changing their minds sort of every day, and that's just the way I feel about it. So I'm just confused, and clarity is needed.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I like on that, I think it's so funny to me. Like I wake up to a different headline every day, and it's like the Minister of Transport or this one single TD said, and I was like, like the media is covering it quite annoyingly, in my opinion, because they're like, keep giving us every single person's opinion, and it's like these Leaving Cert students said, and these different group of Leaving Cert students said, and issue is done, and this minister, and it's awfully annoying because there's so many opinions that like I don't need to hear about every single student's, every single teacher's, every single TD's opinions on it. I just need an actual answer. Like I need a clear, concise plan instead of all this debating and like the ruckus that is going on at the moment. Like it's so stressful because I'm waking up to a new thing every day, to the point where I'm completely doubting it. They said that we're going to get a clarity this week, and I'm like, sure, okay. Like I'm not believing them, and like, and then the meeting isn't with stakeholders, and isn't engaging with everyone, so it's hard to actually listen to anything that they're saying, and then like it's so hard to even believe them that they're going to stick with whatever is said next. And so I've lost a lot of faith in the actual plan of what the government's going to do, and that's really hard, because if I don't even trust about what I'm hearing directly from the government themselves, like even if I get clarity, my own doubts because of how they've acted to this point so far is going to cloud my judgment so much, and it's going to cause me even further stress after whatever statement they do make.
Yeah, I like that, as you're saying, a couple of weeks ago when they were saying, okay, the Leaving Certs are going to go back, and then suddenly, because they hadn't consulted, that was all reversed. So like that, it's very difficult for you to believe what's going to be said, because it's kind of like, well, that's been said now, let's see what happens in 2 or 3 days, because it'll change. Which it's bringing cynicism to the fore.
Very much so.
Yeah, I know. And so you would just be, you're happy if you just got clarity and a decision would be made, and that it would be kind of done and dusted then, and at least it would take away the uncertainty that's going on.
Yeah, I think like it's well and good to say like I want clarity, but like I do want us to be listened to. Like if they do go and be like a very clear decision, the Leaving Cert is going to head, I'm not going to be happy with that. I'm not like I'll be like, if that's their final decision, absolutely there's going to be no change. Like I will be annoyed, and I will be disheartened, and I will be disappointed. And I will still continue to look at petitions and look at what other people are saying and try to support a more beneficial solution for our mental health and for our education. But like, I do want clarification, but I do want a decision based off of what students are asking for, because at the end of the day, this will define our future. And I think that is something that like really should be drilled in more, like, because it's not just like to all the TDs sitting in the Dáil, to all the journalists that are reporting on it, it's just this year's exams, it's this year's students. By next year they'll be like, oh well, that's done and dusted, whereas this literally defines the next 10 years of our life, at least, if not the next, or all of our lives, the rest of our lives. Because like, even, you know, like if I do Leaving Cert this year and I don't like it, then I'll have to stay back here until I go to college, and then you know, I mightn't get the course that I want, and I'll have to settle for something that like my third or fourth choice. And there's just so much that is so worrying about what could happen with the decision that they make. And you know, I think we aren't being taken as seriously as we should. We should be the most important factor in this whole equation. So it's a bit you know, so like I am going to be very adamant about what decision is made, and what my opinion is on it. Because I can't see myself healthily and successfully sitting a traditional Leaving Cert exam.
Okay.
Yeah, and like as Daniel said, at the end of the day, it's us that's going to be sitting the exam. It's not going to be the leaders. It's not going to be politicians, journalists, any other people who, you know, there's a load of people voicing their opinions and what they think. Like at the end of the day, it is the 6-year students that are going to be sitting the exam. So like whatever they feel should be to the forefront.
And that your voices should be heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Adam?
Yeah, I suppose that's the same as what I'd be saying is students, it's their defining moment in their life. It's something that will affect them. And I suppose some decision makers or some people can view it as students are too lazy to sit the Leaving Cert, which is, I think, pretty awful. I know it's in the back of a lot of people's minds, because obviously it looks like predicted grades is the easy way out, but predicted grades only reflects the amount of work that you've put in for the past 6 years of your school. It reflects the sheer amount of effort and what you're actually capable of. It's not a easy H1 or something like that, you know. So it's not an easy way out. It's really a way to judge the work that you've done. And even the I suppose the reason that people are asking for the predicted grades reflects what students have wanted for the past, as long as Leaving Cert has been around. Like most students have always felt that the Leaving Cert was a bit unfair, was a bit unjust, because it doesn't reflect necessarily the best way of assessing people. So it's not a new idea, it's not a radical idea. It's something that students want, primarily because of their mental health, primarily because of the, I suppose, horrible situation that we've all found ourselves in yet again a year later, when I suppose politicians, the minister, the department should have been seeing this a mile away. When they didn't, they're leaving it last minute. They're making decisions off the cuff, maybe. So yeah, working with students, seeing what they want, because this is something that sixth years have had in their mind since this time last year when this happened. It's something that when we were fifth years, we were thinking, oh God, what's going to happen to our Leaving Cert? And the government should have been thinking about that too, but they weren't. So we're just asking again a year later for them to make the right decision, and to give us a bit of choice, to give us the option to do our best, and to reflect what we would normally be getting if we weren't under this stressful situation, if we weren't isolated, alone, like very stressed after feels like a 12-hour school day, you know. So I think it's a matter of putting students' mental health before the tradition of a Leaving Cert. It's putting the needs of students before the long-standing Leaving Cert as it is.
Yeah. And I suppose that's what we hope, that this week we will get a final decision. So hopefully that will come quicker, and that there will be, you know, it'll alleviate, hopefully, some of the worry and the stress and everything that's coming with it, obviously. So I'm going to wrap it up now, and I want to thank you so much for giving your opinions. And you know, it's really good to hear from you, and what your opinions and what should be done and what shouldn't be done. And I think the biggest thing is clarity and to have your voices heard. Now, if there is an announcement this week, we're going to have your reaction. So we're going to be live on Instagram on the Youth Work Ireland Cavan Monaghan page, which is YWI_CM, and we're going to do a live session of reaction to whatever announcement is made, so you can join us on that as well. So Daniel, Caoimhe and Adam, I want to thank you very much, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks, Melissa.
Yeah.